if they do try and object to this temporary protection order, that will be seen as this man being in denial. Once the order's in place, the law will treat him as though he's guilty without any chance, realistically, of him proving that he's not. Once those 5 days, the first 5 days of the temporary protection order pass, he is then ordered to attend a 13-week course run by Dove or some similar organisation, and that's usually 2.5 hours, one night each week. And if he fails to attend those, he can be imprisoned. He may not contact the children by phone, communicate with them in any way. In my experience, the protection orders will be in force anywhere from about 2 months up to perhaps 18 months. And I put it to you that a child of 2 won't even remember who Dad is after 18 months. Why does the family court do this? Well, on the 4th of February 94, a certain Mr. Bristol in Wanganui decided to end his life and those of his 3 children, then aged 7, 3 and 18 months. He connected the exhaust of his car to the interior and they all died. Mr. Bristol had been granted interim custody of his children. The father's solicitor described him as devoted to his children, just the best. A subsequent inquiry showed that there was no evidence that the father had been violent towards the children, but there was evidence that he was violent against his wife. Now, of course, I have got something to say about that inquiry. Following the deaths, Mrs. Bristol came forward to the authorities and her story was given significant attention in the media. A review was carried out by a guy called Ron Davidson, who recommended changes to the law and the way the law was applied as a result of that case. From that review, he says the deaths of those children were not foreseeable and were not preventable. He then went on to say it's possible for judges to apply the law differently effectively so that violent parents don't get access to their children. Unfortunately, the definition of violent parent is if the mother says he's violent, then he's violent. However, that's one case. And Mrs. Bristol's story was trumpeted in the media, but was Mr. Bristol's side of the story ever told? And I put it to you that the inquiry by Ron Davidson didn't take into account Mr. Bristol's statements because he wasn't there to make them. So I then ask, what kind of a judge would make decisions on the basis of a single case on which they had only ever heard one side of the story? And the extremely sad answer to that question is New Zealand family court judges. That's what kind of a judge. This is the mantra of the family court. They say the most important thing is to ensure that the children are safe. Children are not safe with their father, like the Bristol case. Children are safe with their mother, unless there is conclusive proof to the contrary. And if Dad says the children aren't safe with the mother, then this is evidence that he's a control freak, like Bristol. The Declaration of Human Rights, saying that all people are equal before the law, and all are entitled to equal treatment without discrimination. I just want to finish this part by bringing to your attention a couple of recent cases. This is a case of a man whose children were abducted by their mother and taken to Sweden. The Manukau Family Court declared that the children had been wrongfully removed and ordered them to return. The court in Sweden, a very short time later, also found the children had been abducted and ordered the children to be returned. The father has now been ordered by the New Zealand Family Court to pay the cost of repatriating his children and the mother, but because he's had child support taken out of his wages, significant legal bills, and lost half of his previous finances, he's no longer in a position to fund such a trip. So he's stalemated despite being in the right. And here's another one in the paper just the other day. This is father, this is father's mother, and this is the boyfriend who killed the kid.